Hi, friend. Happy Wednesday. I hope you are having a brilliant start to the week, and I hope that you will join all the lovely people in the chat right now, James and Jim and Christina and Cindy, in saying hello. If you're joining us live, the chat is sort of the place to be. It's where we are all sharing our favorite tips and tricks and things that we have learned along the way, which is a little bit different than perhaps other Zoom meetings or live streams that you have joined where it's just me sort of broadcasting out. That's not what you're in for here. You have a seat at this table. You are joining in the conversation. You are getting those fingers to typing. However, I do realize that people are joining us while they eat, and in which case their hands are busy with a sandwich or ketchup or something else. We don't want you to type with dirty hands. And we also know that some people are joining later via podcast form on your favorite podcast network, whether that's Apple or Spotify or Overcast. And you are listening to this while you are folding laundry or going for a run or washing dishes. So we also know that you cannot type and participate. And in that case, if that is you, two little pieces of homework. One, listen and track all of your questions. Two, write to me when you get in front of something that has a screen or a type so that I can help answer your questions, even though you weren't able to join live. If you are joining live, I'd love to know where you're coming in from. It looks like Cindy's coming in from Las Vegas. Jim is coming in from the East Coast of the US, where we are getting lots and lots of rain because of the hurricane that has come. But I would love to know where you are coming in from. I'll go first. I'm coming in from Austin, Texas. And if you're new here, my name's Kim, and I would like to be your new friend. So I hope that this will be a good first coffee session for us to kick off with and become fast friends. If you've joined us many a times, like Liz and James and Shelby and John, well, then you know the drill, and hopefully you can help me welcome in the newcomers who are coming to this session because their friend told them to, or they saw it on LinkedIn, or they thought, hey, you know what? My LinkedIn profile needs some help. And if that is you, you are in the right place. This is going to be an AMA for anybody who has never heard of the acronym AMA. It stands for Ask Me Anything. So ask me anything. We have themed this Ask Me Anything LinkedIn because I get a lot of questions about LinkedIn in my inbox. And what I realized is when I was answering all these questions individually in the inbox, that's great because the person that asked the question got the answer and we were able to help out. But I realized that not everybody then gets the answer. And in the rule of mass communication, usually if one person has a question, it means that two or three, maybe even four people also have that same question. So I thought, you know what? Let's just take this out of the inbox. Let's take this out of the DMs and let's put it up for everyone to be able to ask their question in case you get a question that you thought, oh my God, Liz asked that question. And I actually had that question too. So if you have any questions about LinkedIn, about your profile, about how to use the platform, about how to optimize it, about how to reach more people that you want to reach, please drop it in the chat. I would love to help answer your questions about LinkedIn. However, I will say there are a couple things that I came prepared with that I see. I don't know. Well, twofold. One, I see people should be utilizing them. So they are an underutilized asset. And two, I just see that people, if they are utilizing it, it's not to the full extent. So I brought three pieces of things that I've seen on LinkedIn lately that I just thought you might not have seen. And in which case I want to bring that to your attention to see if that's something that you can use and optimize and further help to grow you in whatever state of your career that you're in, because I think that that's kind of what we want to do at the end of the day. The first one being hi to Farius from Germany. And Jeff, it's good to see you. So thanks for joining in again. The chat, say hi if you're joining us live. But one of the things I wanted to get into kind of from the start is people will hear me sort of wax poetic. I will die on the hill that LinkedIn is something that of all the social media networks, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, all of them, LinkedIn is king of the castle. And whenever I say that, especially if I say that in a group of people that are under the age of 40, massive eye rolls. Like, how can it beat TikTok? How can it beat Instagram? We spend hours on Instagram. We spend hours on Facebook. We spend hours on TikTok. There's no way. Here's why it's always going to win. Always, because it just has historical advantage. It will always, always win because of our dear friend, Google. Google will always win because they are the biggest player in the game and they are the player that has been around the longest. And it's everybody's sort of go-to search functionality. And what people don't realize about LinkedIn and Google is that they are besties. LinkedIn is one of the only social media platforms that is crawled by Google. What does that mean when I say it's crawled by Google? It means that Google, listen, I don't speak tech nerd, so I'm doing my best here. It means that Google can basically go into LinkedIn's backend and read everything that's going on. Google can read LinkedIn's diary. That's kind of what's happening here. And Google cannot read the diary of TikTok. It cannot read the diary of Instagram. Those platforms are like, this is my diary for my eyes only. Anybody remember that when you used to write on your diary, like for my eyes only, like if you look at this, you're going to get cooties and something bad will happen. Okay. Maybe that was just me, but it can't read those backends. So it's never going to be able to search those backends. It's never going to be able to optimize them fully. Why does this matter? This matters because Google is only getting smarter and LinkedIn is only getting smarter. And it's one of those things that when people meet you, that's what they're going to do. They're going to type your name into Google. So I want to show an example right here because I think that you might be like me, where you sort of remember people when you meet them, but not really. So I'll speak for myself. If I'm at a networking event, if I'm at a party, if I am at a function and I meet somebody that's really interesting, I can never remember everything. So if you tell me, hey, my name's Stephanie Marshall, I already know I'm not going to remember that. I'm sorry. I know myself. I'm not going to remember your name, Stephanie Marshall, but I will remember like parts of the conversation. I'll be like, okay, her name was Stephanie. I remember she worked in marketing and I remember she was from Florida. Like I'll remember like bits and pieces of people's story, but I'm not remembering like, especially if you have, I mean, Stephanie Marshall, I guess is easier to remember. But if you have any sort of like a complicated name or something, I'm done. That's just me. Maybe you're better at this than I am, but that's not my strong suit. However, Google knows it's not my strong suit. So I know Stephanie's very funny. You're just my example, Stephanie, but Google is very smart and Google is getting smarter again with the help of LinkedIn. So for this example, I used my producer, Shelby, who you may or may not know, but you should know. So let's pretend that I met Shelby at a party. And I know I can remember parts of what Shelby told me at the party, but not everything. So I remember like, oh, her name was Shelby. You know, I met her over at the bar. I remember she said she did something with LinkedIn. I can't remember what. And she also mentioned live streaming. Can't remember what she was mentioning about, but those three words. So Shelby, LinkedIn, and live streaming. Notice I did not give Google Shelby's last name. I didn't give Google Shelby's title. I didn't give Google Shelby's job where she worked. I just gave Google three things that I remember off the top of my head from talking to this person. This is disturbing, guys. Heads up. So be warned. Google, even with those three words, already knows who Shelby is because it has crawled LinkedIn's backend and found that Shelby has had articles, Shelby has a LinkedIn profile, and then as the fourth thing down is Shelby's actual website. Now, again, this is just with three words, Shelby, LinkedIn, and live streaming. So all that to say, when I say that LinkedIn is sort of king of the castle, this is what I'm talking about, is because LinkedIn is showing up on that Google backend in such a big way. So that even if people don't know the full story about you, they're able to find you off of these keywords that LinkedIn, especially if you have that in your profile, goes, yep, found it, which is why I'm so bullish on LinkedIn, which is why I'm like, let's talk about it. Let me help. How can we dig in and get you to optimize your LinkedIn even further? So I want to make sure we're getting to the questions before I continue on with the hills that I will die on. So first, I want to get to Jeff's question, which is, what's the best way to attract people using your background picture? So for anybody that is not familiar, your background picture is when you go to somebody's profile and it is that large banner, if you will, that is right above the picture of their face. So that is the largest image on LinkedIn that you can control. Everything else is without your control because LinkedIn kind of does its own thing. That is the biggest visual real estate that you have on LinkedIn that's within your control. This is so important to utilize. I always say its utmost best use case is pointing people where you want them to go or telling them something you want them to know. So it could be pointing them in a direction of a podcast that you could produce. It could be telling them that you're open to job opportunities. It could be telling them that there's a portfolio that you think that they should check out. This is your space. I highly, highly, highly encourage people, if they haven't already, to customize this space, and not only customize it once, continue to customize it. As every year goes by or every quarter goes by, update it, put something new in there. Maybe there's something else that you want people to explore or see. It's not clickable. So it's not clickable, but it's visual. So highly, highly recommend. You can go on canva.com. We can put a link in the chat for Canva, but Canva has a ton of templates. They make it super easy. Even if you have zero experience in creative design, that is perfect. It is made for you if you have zero experience. So that, my friend, is going to be your best bet in terms of utilizing that background image or banner. Use it to point people or tell them something that you want them to know about you. I also really like this question from Faraz. Apologies if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Do you have a number about the limits of friend requests per day on LinkedIn? Again, very controversial. Everybody posts, has a different viewpoint on this. I will say there's sort of two rules of thought, and I am part of the latter. The first rule of thought is what I call spray and pray, which is you just spray a bunch of LinkedIn requests out to people that you have no idea who they are, and you pray that they accept them. And I think the limit is you can send like 25 or 50 requests a day. It's a large number that you just request. That's sort of one school of thought, pros and cons to that. I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to the latter, which is very targeted approach to connecting on LinkedIn. I always add a personal note. That is always an option on LinkedIn. Be careful, because when you press connect, there's always a little option that says add a personal note. Always, always add a personal note. Even if you've never met this person before, say, hey, saw your profile on LinkedIn. I thought, XYZ was super interesting. Your post about marketing was super interesting. I saw that you were connected to my friend Jeff, and I thought that we should connect as well because I trust Jeff's, endorsement of you. Whatever it may be, add a personal note there. Adding a personal note immediately ups your odds that that person will actually connect with you instead of pressing deny. Because remember, they always have that choice too. You can accept or deny. So in order to have a greater chance of getting accepted, that personal note is going to make a huge, huge difference. So if you can, that's just my opinion, always think that you should target those requests. Always think you should add a personalized note. Again, you can think about it this is how I think about it. You're sitting in your living room. You're watching the Olympics. You're hanging out. You got a snack. You got a nice cold beverage. And all of a sudden there's a knock on your door. But you were not expecting anyone. You open the door and a stranger is at the door and they're like, "Hey, can I come in?" Probably your first reaction is no. I was comfy. I was hanging. Stranger at my door, not letting you in. Who are you? Stranger danger. However, if you open that door and the person says, "Hey, I'm friends with James. James said that he was coming over here later to watch the Olympics. He might have mentioned that he was going to bring a friend. I'm the friend. I think we're all going to watch the Olympics together." Then you're like, "Oh yeah, I did. James said he might come over. He said he might, bring somebody. Come on in." So again, silly example, but it just shows that extra explanation of the why makes a huge difference with those connection requests. So absolutely. Jeff is saying LinkedIn only allows 5 per month unless you're premium now, Kim. Oh, okay. So this is good to know. Good to know in terms of the, is that requests or is that for the personalized note? TBD. Jeff will tell me the answer. For personalized note. Got it. So if you can use your 5 personalizations, because they are just really helpful and I always recommend them. So if you can, please, please, please do that. I also want to take a break from questions and get into some new features on LinkedIn that you may or may not know about. So here are some new features that I personally think if you're going to add some things to your to-do list over the next couple of days, these might be good ones to add. Before I get into the new features that I really like, I just have a personal plea about the pronunciation feature. Dear God, if you have not turned this on, please, 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 please turn it on because nobody knows how to say your name. Okay. You know how to say your name, but nobody else knows how to say your name. And people like me who are very people pleasy and very much want to make people feel welcomed, I go on people's LinkedIn and I want to know how to say their name. And when people don't have this feature turned on, it drives me cuckoo bananas. So even if you have a name that is, you think, super easy to pronounce, still turn it on. Because I can assure you, someone out there, English is not their first language or whatever language, you live in France, so French is your first language. There's some American like me who doesn't know you, who's joining the Zoom call going, I don't know how to pronounce that name because I've only been to France twice and I don't know how. So please, 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 this is my personal hill. Please turn on this feature. You can add it in by going to the mobile app on LinkedIn. That is the only way as of right now to turn on this feature in order to you say your name into the phone. So I would say, Kim Kelp. The only way to do that is on the phone. Don't ask me why they haven't enabled that on desktop yet. Very bizarre. I don't know. I don't make the rules. I just report on them. So please, if you can, turn on that feature. Thank you. That's the hill I will die on. I'll get to some more questions, then I'll kind of talk about some of the new features that I'm really excited about. Siva is asking about the order in which things appear on your profile. He's talking specifically about skills, but I will say for most things on LinkedIn, you can edit the order in which things appear. Skills might be different because if I'm remembering correctly, and everybody can correct me in the chat, skills are what other people have endorsed you for. And if I'm remembering correctly, it goes by ranking. So it'll say like 36 people have endorsed Kim for her social media skills. And I believe it ranks them from top to bottom. So I'm not sure if you can reorder those, but things like the order in which your awards and honors appear, the order in which things show up on your, like the past jobs that you've done, that is all editable by you. You can control that. So you can just type into one of LinkedIn's edit features and figure out how to kind of, there's a way I could walk you through it, but I could send you a Loom later of exactly how to move that around. But yes, you can move things around. Thank you, Liz. You can rearrange your skills and you can reorder them in any order that you want to. So yes, exactly. And Damon is like, I need to add the recording voice for mobile only. Yes, you need to do it on mobile. It will not work on desktop. Don't ask me why. I've complained to LinkedIn like 100 times about that. So I'm waiting in the list of complaints. So that would be really great. Okay. John is asking, when you are posting videos on LinkedIn, always very controversial because most people hate posting videos on LinkedIn. But if you are going to post videos on LinkedIn, what are some tips about posting video? I will give you 2 tips about posting videos because I know that they can be really intimidating and most people hate speaking in front of a camera. They hate hearing their own voice. It's just very uncomfortable for them. So I'll give you 2 sort of pieces of advice that I use. Number 1, don't overcomplicate things. What's that acronym? KISS, keep it simple. I think it's stupid, but we won't say that. Keep it smart and simple. I don't know what the other S is going to be. You can make that up because we don't want to say stupid, but keep it simple. What do I mean by that? I mean, record it on your phone. You don't need anything fancy schmancy, or if you don't want to use your phone, you can use your webcam. Phone has a little bit better quality, but again, beggars can't be choosers, especially if you're just dipping your toe in the video game. So literally phone, set it up. Second piece of advice, 30 seconds or less. 30 seconds or less. 45 seconds if you must. A minute, no, don't do it. You're going to want to do it. You're going to want to talk for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Don't do it. I'm telling you right now, don't do it. Find a way to shorten it. Say it in less words. I know for some people, they like to write it out. They kind of like write out the 4 sentences that they're going to say. And if you're going to write out 4 sentences that you're going to say, here's the best part of movie magic. You can literally go sentence by sentence. So if I want to say, here are my top 5 tips for, here are my top 2 tips for LinkedIn. Start your pronunciation feature, connect with a personalized note, and join Kim's LinkedIn Lives. Okay, let's say I was going to do a little video with those 3 things. You can literally go sentence by sentence. So press record, boom, got 1 sentence, stop, press record again, second sentence, stop. So again, it doesn't have to be all in one take. If you can do it in one take, great. But just know you can literally go sentence by sentence, baby steps, and splice them all together. There's lots of different apps that you can do that in. You can do that in Instagram in the native app. You can do that in CapCut. You can do that in Splice. I personally like Splice. It's free. There's no excuse. It's pretty easy to use and you can't beat free. So if you are new to video, I highly encourage you to try it. If you never have, it's always good to try new things. Those would be my top tips. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Shoot it on your phone. Go sentence by sentence if you have to. And number 2, keep it short, 45 seconds or less. Do not talk more than 45 seconds. You're going to want to. I don't want you to. And actually, you don't want to. So I'll just put that out there. I wanted to, before I get to more of these questions, I love these questions. I want to talk about a few things that I wrote down beforehand that I'm like, I need everybody to know about these. So I'll kind of go back and forth between the things that I want to talk about and the things that you want to talk about, because we're sharing. Sharing is caring. It can't always be your turn and it can't always be my turn. So we're going to go back and forth. So now it's my turn. So I want to tell you about this new feature that LinkedIn has where you can add a personalized link. So if you are joining via podcast and you cannot see what is on my screen right now, just know that whenever you visit LinkedIn, if you go to my profile specifically, this might be helpful if you're washing dishes or folding clothes. After this is over, go to my LinkedIn, and on my profile, you will see a link that says, let's grab coffee. That is a link that I put in there. I control that. You have your own link. You can control that. You can add a website. You can add a YouTube link. It can be an intake form. I've seen people do Calendly links, which are basically ways to schedule a session with them. This is really, really smart, especially if you work in sales or anything that requires somebody, a human, to talk to you, to schedule a session with you, to schedule an introductory call. Highly, highly, highly recommend that you enable this feature. You can enable this feature by pressing, when you go to your own profile, so not my profile, your profile, you will see a button that says add custom button. Click that and add your own button in. Even if that goes to your company's webpage. I don't promote that. I'm saying if you work at a corporate job, if you work at your own company, yes, please do send it to your company page. But link to something that you care about, that you talk about. Maybe it's something that you were featured in or something, again, a way to schedule a call with you. Again, most of the time for most platforms, they do not want you going off platform. So they will squash in the algorithm outside links that you try to put in comments or you try to put in messages, or they'll try to squash it. This is the one little space where LinkedIn has been like, okay, here it is. You're allowed to put in your own link here. So if you have not enabled this function, please, please do, because it's great real estate. And I don't see enough people utilizing it to the extent that I think that it should be utilized. So absolutely, you can kind of dig into that and really focus on how you can optimize it better. Varinder, I'm definitely saying that wrong. I hope you have the pronunciation feature set up so that after this I can go and look. And if you don't, that's very much motivation for me to say your name right. Okay, what topics would you cover in video? Topics that I would quickly cover in video. First of all, you can go on my website and you can download, I put together a whole list of ideas. So we'll drop that in the chat. Tons of ideas for you to talk about on LinkedIn. But I would say 3 of the ones that I kind of recommend to people the most, just because they're the easiest. Number 1, the top 2, 3 things that you think people should know about your industry or about getting a job in your industry, because usually that's something that's very top of mind. It's something that kind of like the back of your hand, and that would be helpful for other people. Number 2, the biggest mistakes. People love hearing about mistakes. Don't ask me why. They just really do. So people love hearing about mistakes. If you can say, here are the top 2 mistakes that I made in my career, or the biggest mistake I made in my career, and you say whatever that is really helpful to other people so they can learn from your mistakes. So either the top things you recommend, maybe 1 or 2 mistakes that you want other people to avoid, mistakes that you personally made. That's the important part. You have to have already made these mistakes so that you're speaking from experience. And then the third thing I always tell people that's super interesting is kind of giving what I call a hot take. So look at the news, wherever you get your news from, whatever's in the headlines, or your industry news. So if you work in tech, as an example, or AI, you might see all of the stuff that's out today and yesterday, all about Figure, the new robotics company that is launched, and BMW launched with it. And it's this big thing. Your hot take on something that's current in the news right now. So if you worked in AI or worked in robotics, you might say, here's one thing that most people don't realize about this new Figure robot, or here's where I think the Figure robot is really going to struggle, or here's where I think the Figure robot's going to do really well. So kind of giving your personal opinion, your hot take, your expert knowledge on a subject that's already trending or already in the news. So if you are looking for video suggestions, again, we'll pop it in the chat where I have a bunch of content ideas that you can download and steal. But that's the one. Those are kind of like the 3 that I think are the easiest for people to master, especially off the top of their head. Also, I want to touch on this question from Javier before I get back to my questions, which are, Do you trust the job offers on LinkedIn? Yes and no. I think with any job offer, with anything that you're seeing, you must do your own due diligence. So I personally know friends who have gotten job offers through LinkedIn jobs and they're at those jobs and they're thrilled and happy and wonderful. Case number one. I also know people on LinkedIn who were messaged about their service or their offering, and somebody said, "Hey, can you build this website for me and I'll pay you?" And we all know how the story ends. They kind of start building the website or they start working with the person, and it turns out it was kind of a scam and they didn't get paid. So in both scenarios, you just have to do your due diligence, do your research. If you are being offered a job via LinkedIn, whether it is LinkedIn jobs, whether it is somebody messaging you, whether it is somebody using the services function, do your due diligence on who that person is offering you that job. Not just the due diligence of, oh, I looked at their profile, but really the due diligence. Like you you ask them, I want to talk to somebody in real life that has worked with you. Get those references, do those checks. So I would say yes and no. Yes, because I know people that have gotten LinkedIn jobs and they're doing amazing. And no, because I also know people that have gotten, sort of bamboozled by people that kind of got into their LinkedIn messages and maybe told them some stuff that actually didn't end up to be true. So, and as Jeff points out, if they ask for money, that is probably a red flag from the start. Or if they, are selling stocks or, any sort of like winning lotto numbers or anything, that's probably a red flag. Okay. Second thing that I want to tell you about. So now it's my turn. Now it's my turn. So, second thing that I want to tell you about, and because it plays kind of perfectly into here, one, because I just mentioned services, and two, because I think earlier Jeff even mentioned services as well. LinkedIn has a new feature called services. So, if you have not seen this feature, go to anybody's profile who's with us today. Go to Grace's, go to Javier's, go to John's, go to mine, go to Shelby's. And right under the About section, you will see a new area called Services. Some people have this enabled and some people do not. If you'd like to look at an example of what this looks like, I'll have Shelby not only drop my profile link in the chat, but also her profile link in the chat, because I know she has this enabled as well. So again, it will come up right below the About section and it will say Services. This is a new section that LinkedIn just rolled out very recently. So you might say, wait a minute, Kim, I'm not seeing it on my profile. Because you don't have it turned on. Because you don't have it turned on. You have to turn it on. You have to fill out the stuff and you have to enable it. So if you're not seeing it, if you're like, but where, it's not enabled. You don't have it. You do not have it. I already know I'm going to get messages after this being like, but I don't see it. Where is it? It's not enabled. You must enable it. You must enable. I cannot enable it for you. You must enable it yourself. So when you see the services section, you will see there is a show all button. If you are to click that button, the page expands. It expands into a beautiful new web page that LinkedIn has designed with services. You can fill out a little about section about yourself, where you're located, your pricing, if you want to do pricing, and then the services you offer. And then you can add in like media or presentations or links or things that you think will say, hey, if I do web services, here's an example of my web services. Or, oh, I do, patent consulting. Here's a link to my 36 patents as proof that I am a great, patent consultant, or whatever it may be. Why is this important? So you might say, well, Kim, yes, I offer services in the form of like a side hustle, or like, sure, either you properly offer services You're a copywriter, you're a web designer, you are a consultant, you're a public speaker, whatever it is. Or you might say, well, Kim, I have a corporate job. But I do a little side hustle. I do a little proofreading sometimes. I do a little, web design in my off days. So even your side hustle, great option for services. But you might say, well, why does that matter? Especially if it's a side hustle. Like, is it even beneficial to put it on LinkedIn? Because maybe I don't want my employer to know I do a side hustle, or maybe I don't think my side hustle is big enough or worthy enough to put on the services page. Here's what I don't think people are realizing. LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft. Microsoft is a publicly held company. So their job is to always make more money, so their shareholders are more happy, so people buy more Microsoft stock. Okay? So that's like very top level. So it is in their best interest that LinkedIn becomes more and more of a resource so that more and more people use it, so they become more and more of a driver of data and traffic and analytics, so that their shareholders make more money, honey. So when you are adding this services feature, now if you search on LinkedIn for web designer or whatever, copywriter or lawyer or whatever service it is that you're looking for, you can now type in the LinkedIn search bar. In this case, I did it about 20 minutes ago. I put in web designer, and you can see that the people that come up now, they're people that have enabled the services feature. You can now easily click on their profile and request those services. So again, apologies if you're folding laundry right now and you cannot see my screen fully. I'm making it big for the people that have a screen. So I will verbally explain to you what people who are seeing the screen can see. But essentially, you go into the search bar on LinkedIn. I put in web designer, and out of the 1,130,000 results that came up on LinkedIn for web designer, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th person down on my page that is found. Her name is Anisha. Again, I'm probably saying that wrong, but on her thing, you can see that she has a little button that says request services. So right then and right there, you can request services from her. This is a new feature that LinkedIn is rolling out. So as you can see, based on everybody else that came up, you do not see a little blue button under their name. Why? Say it with me, because they didn't enable their services feature. Do I sound like a broken record yet? You didn't enable your services feature. So if you'd like to come up on LinkedIn search, this is a good way, another way, an additional way for people to hire you and take in your services. I'm trying to get you money. I'm trying to get you money as easily as humanly possible. So whatever new tips and tricks that we can deploy to get other people to give you money, that's what I want to do. So this blue button is one of them. So if you haven't already, if you have a side hustle, if you're an entrepreneur, if you offer a service of any kind, highly encourage you to enable this services feature. And I know that Jeff had asked about it earlier. So I swear he was not an industry plant. We were indeed going to talk about services no matter what. That's just something that I was like, we must do that. Okay, I want to get to this question from, we have such hard names today, and I am so bad at this. Shwai, probably mispronouncing that. I'm so sorry. I did my best. She asks, when starting a freelancing business with no clients, is it acceptable to ask a former colleague to write a review on your LinkedIn service page? I believe it's referred to as work examples. Can you clarify the best practices for this? My answer to this is an absolutely yes. Absolutely, you should get people who know you, people who respect you, people who can vouch for your work, honestly vouch for your work. So in this case, you're saying it's a former colleague, therefore they know your work. Yes, I would absolutely ask them to endorse your services page on LinkedIn. Totally. What I would not do is ask your little sister or your cousin or your friend or your brother or your mom to endorse your services page. Why? Because they actually cannot speak to the work that you do. They can speak to how you are as a sister, and they can speak to how you are as a daughter, and they can speak to how you are as a friend, but they can't speak to the actual work that you do. And if hopefully people come to that services page and they want to hire you, they might do a reference check. And in which case, they're going to call your former colleague, or they're going to reach out to your former colleague and say, hey, what was it like? Were they good to work with? And you want that person to say, yes, absolutely. You can tell from my LinkedIn, we both worked at the same company for 2.5 years. She was amazing. She was a client favorite, whatever it was. If they contact your brother or your friend or your mom or someone you kind of got to fill in the endorsement form when they haven't really worked with you, and they say, what's it like to work with that person? Well, then you're putting that person in an awkward place to either lie, which we don't want, or to say, oh, actually, that's just my sister. I don't actually know, which then is not going to look good to whoever it is trying to hire you. So absolutely, yes. I definitely think that you should ask former colleagues, former clients, former vendors, people that you've worked with to vouch for you on that services page. 100%, definitely do it for sure. The follow-up question is, currently I upload my examples are empty. I don't have any client work to explain that. Given this, what other types of work or content can I showcase to attract potential clients? Two things that I tell people if you don't have work to show. Number one, see if you can showcase past work that you've done, even if it was at your old company. Sometimes that's not allowed in terms of non-disclosure agreements and confidentiality. If you can display your old work, display it. Number two, and this is something I myself have done, literally make it up. And what I mean by make it up is, if you are a web designer and you want to show your web design skills, go to someone, anyone in your life, and say, hey, I'll design a web page for you for free because I want to use it as my example work. Or if you can't even find someone to make a pretend web page for, make a pretend web page all yourself. Create a fictional florist shop and build the actual web page and then show people. Because I always say, at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. People want to see the work that you've done. So if you haven't done the work, make it. Make the work. Be the change you want to see. Make the work you want people to hire you for. So if it's something that you don't necessarily have that work yet, see if you can make it. I think that's really, really important. Okay. Last thing that I wanted to tell you about on LinkedIn that is a new feature that I think you should be utilizing if you are not utilizing already. One of the top things that I hear about people on LinkedIn is it's hard to engage in the platform. It's so hard to keep up. I log in, I go on a page, I throw out a couple likes, I throw out a couple comments, but that's it. LinkedIn heard you, they heard me, they heard our complaints. And they have a new feature on the platform. It's under My Network. My Network now, which is in the top part of your toolbar, it's right next to home, now is divided into two sections. The first section is called Catch Up, and the second section is called Grow. This section that I want you to focus on is one that's called Catch Up. What they have now done is you can filter updates from your network by certain things: job changes, birthdays, work anniversaries, things that people are celebrating. That is now much easier if somebody got a new job. As an example, instead of if I wanted to click on the button that said job changes, it will show me every single one of my connections that has had a job change. That then I can then put a like on that post. I can say, congratulations on your new job. It is a very easy way to stay engaged. So again, if you go to your homepage, you'll see My Network is in the top of your toolbar. It is now in a catch-up section. You can see, I put this example for everybody who's on a screen, has one in front of them. You will see all of the changes. In this case, somebody got a new role, somebody got a promotion, somebody's been at a company for multiple years, somebody completed a university thing. It is now very easy for you to look at that, put in a like, put in a comment, or even better, sort of like the varsity game, is you actually get out your phone or you get out your email and you write them or you call them and you say, "Hey Alex, I saw you got a new job. Congratulations. Just wanted to say hello and hope you're doing well and congrats on the new job." Okay? It's that extra little bit of like, "Oh wow, Alex called me. Like got a new job. That was so nice. That was so nice of him to call. So nice of him to notice. So nice of him to reach out." So again, just that extra little bit to help you stay engaged with people. Now, Alex is saying, "Well, I don't know if I like this catch up section yet." I would say this: it's an easy way to stay engaged. If you are already great at staying engaged, you might be like, I don't really know if I like this section. I don't really know if this section is for me or if I really enjoy it. However, if staying engaged is a little more challenging for you, or you feel like you log into the platform and there's just so much going on, I do feel like this catch up section is a good sort of synopsis, quick summary, kind of quick place that you can go to kind of get that key information. So personally, I'm really liking this section. I think it's helpful. I still use it, even though I would say all the time that, it's something that I'm seeing. Cindy is saying, "I don't see that on mine." That's a great point, Cindy. You have to look on the web. This will not show up in mobile. And I know that we've talked a few times today. One, how the pronunciation feature, you have to use mobile. In this case, the catch up feature is only on the web. I don't know why LinkedIn does some things on the web, but then doesn't do it on mobile, and then reverse does some things on mobile, but not the web. No clue. Couldn't tell you. Don't know why. They're different experiences. It's a modern day mystery, but that is a good point, Cindy. Thank you for saying that. It is on the web portion of your LinkedIn. It is not on the mobile section. Also, I will say this is a new feature that they are rolling out. So depending on what country you are in, or depending on, the exact interface that you're seeing, it might be something that you don't see right now, but that you are going to see soon. So they're rolling it out kind of in chunks. So it showed up on my profile. I know it showed up on a couple other profiles. Cindy and Lisa are saying that they don't see it. You guys probably are going to get it. My guess is very soon, because they're kind of rolling this out in chunks. Alex is also saying, previously the notification section was when somebody accepted your connection request or sent you one. Now it's due to the catch up section, and it's you being notified of people getting new jobs or people that are going through work anniversaries. So yes, it definitely is. Gil is saying that he saw it on his update several weeks ago and it's useful. So again, some people can see it, some people can't. If you are in the camp that you cannot see it, just know, give it a couple weeks or a month. I think they're going to start rolling it out to all the accounts. So all the more reason that if you don't have it, get excited, because you're going to be seeing it. The last sort of to do that I will give you from my end is set time in your calendar to kind of do this work, to either enable your pronunciation feature or set time aside to play around with the catch up function if you have it on your, or set time aside to do your services page this weekend. A lot of times we join lives like this and we get super excited, and Liz has given us tips and Jeff has given us tips, and we have all these tips, and we've written them down or we've typed them out, and we're like, we kind of have this forward momentum. And then, the workshop ends, and then we kind of go back to our work day. And then, the Olympics are on and we want to watch those. And, the momentum stops. So what I always tell people is, before this even ends, before we even jump off this live, what I would love to have you do right now, right this second, is get out whatever calendar function you use, wherever you put in your meetings, wherever you send Zoom invites from, whatever calendar system that you are using, or to-do list section that you subscribe to, whether that is Evernote or Notion or good old paper and pen, whatever that is. Set aside time to actually dig into these sections, to dig into services, to dig into the catch-up stuff, to dig into the pronunciation feature. Because if you don't set aside time, honestly, it's probably not going to happen. That's just what I've seen. So if you can, please set up time. Also, I know that these sessions go by really, really quickly. I never want to leave you hanging. So just know that you can keep learning from me. I have a bunch of LinkedIn nano tips that are up on the platform. These are free. I think I do like 10 or 15 kind of 1 minute or less fast LinkedIn tips that you can see. We will add a link in the chat so you can check those out. Or if you are joining us and have a screen in front of you, you can scan this QR code and that will pop up. But again, just kind of more tips and tricks and features on the platform, because I know I only talked about 3 today, but there are loads that I would love for you to sink your teeth into and really kind of optimize your LinkedIn as much as possible. And we don't have time to get to them all. And in terms of staying updated and in terms of catching up with what's new, the best way to do that for me is to either click on the follow button on my profile, or to click on the little alarm bell also on my profile. This is the only way that I know how to keep you up to date on sessions like we have now, to keep you up to date on content that I've written or evaluations that I've put out. We get lots of messages from people that are like, I didn't see this, or you said you were going to send this link and then I never got it. Because I can't control LinkedIn, that's the only way I know that you can get all the updates. Because if you don't do those 2 things, I can send things out all I want and they'll never get to you because I don't make the rules. So that's just how that happens. So that is the best way that I know that you can stay in touch. Or if you really enjoyed today's session and you kind of feel this momentum with optimizing your LinkedIn, with really kind of furthering your career and your reach, I would highly encourage you to join next week's session, which is going to be fantastic at 1 p.m. Eastern. And the title of that session is How to Be the Star Candidate Employers Want to Work With. So that obviously is something we all want. We all want people to want to work with us. So you can head over to getcoffeewithkim.com and you can sign up for that session and RSVP. But that is going to be an awesome, awesome session where we are going to sort of dig into some really great tips and tools and information. So I would really love that as much as you can join. I would love for you to join. I love this. We already have people that are optimizing the pronunciation feature. Things are great. So that would be fantastic. Jeff just put in a link to the podcast. If you ever miss these live sessions or you're not able to join, I totally get it. You have a busy schedule, which I completely understand. You can go to any of your favorite podcast networks, whether that is Spotify, whether that is Apple, whether that is, Overcast, and you can just type in getcoffeewithkim.com, and we put these up on the Tuesday following our Wednesday live session. So you can always kind of dig into the content and always come back with questions or things that you want us to cover, because that's what we like to do here. We like to help each other. And so I hope this has been a really beneficial session for you. I'm glad we got to dig into not only some questions that you had around LinkedIn, but some things that I absolutely wanted to feature and highlight about LinkedIn that are new. And if you enjoyed this session, let us know. We don't do very many of these AMAs because I never quite know if people want more workshops, if people want more kind of interviews with experts, or if these AMAs are valuable. I don't know because I can't read your mind. And so the only thing I can do is ask you to tell me. You can drop me a message on LinkedIn. You can drop me a message via email. You can drop me a message on Instagram, Twitter, whatever social media platform that you use the most. I would love to get a message from you if this was helpful. If you want to see more of these, we are happy to do more and schedule more. We just don't know if you like them. So let us know. I really enjoyed being here with you today. These questions were awesome. I loved digging into this content. I could nerd out on it all day long. And I appreciate you being here because I know you're busy and you have a lot going on in your workday. So it means the world to me that you took the time and did the work here with me today. So thank you so, so much. Have a beautiful rest of your week. And I will see you here next Wednesday, same time, same place. See ya.